Hey, Bears fans, the trek to 50,000 subscribers continues, but something that really caught my eye recently as I was diving in some YouTube analytics here on Chicago Bears Now, only 16.2% of our subscribers have turned on notifications. What does that mean? That means over 80% of you guys don't necessarily receive a notification from YouTube when we publish a new video or when we go live. So here's the deal. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have subscribed, turn on that notification bell and select all. It'll give you a couple of different options there. And once you do that, or if you already have notifications turned on, type Noti Gang down in the comments. We'll get some shout outs going on a future video. Go ahead and join the Noti Gang. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, and today's episode of Chicago's Bears Now is presented by Manscaped. The best men's grooming products are available when you go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code BEARS20. They dropped a new item recently. We will explore that later on in the show. All right, got some rumors to catch you guys up on. Could the Bears bring back Jason Peters, who spent last season in Chicago? Peters did an interview on SiriusXM NFL Radio yesterday, says he's staying in shape and would like to play in 2022. I thought he played pretty solid for the Bears last year, even to the point where I tweeted yesterday after some of these quotes from Peters dropped that. I tweeted whispers. He was kind of the Bears' best offensive lineman last year. I mean, he played pretty well. A lot of that is more about how the rest of the offensive line did not perform. But I think it's interesting that he still wants to stay in shape. I mean, remember last year, he didn't sign until right before the third preseason game. So, he's a vet who's ready to go at all times. Says he's open to play for a contender or even a non-contender. Here's what Peters had to say on SiriusXM. Looking for an upcoming offensive line, good team, or a playoff team. Either or is good for me because I can pass my torch on to some guys who are trying to get better, the younger guys, the new generation, or if I get on a team with some vets, they already know how I rock, and we can just go into the playoffs and make a run and try to win another ring. So he's open to different type of situations, doesn't have to be a contender. I think one thing we all have to accept is that last year Jason Peters proved he can still play at a pretty high level. The year before in Philly, where they kind of tried him at guard, moved him back to tackle, he struggled a bit and people thought he was done. And then the Bears needed some help last year, so they brought him on board, and he played pretty darn well for Chicago. I don't think anyone would look back at that Bears offense last year and be like, yeah, well, Jason Peters at left tackle is a big reason why the team struggled. That is not the case whatsoever. He played pretty darn well outside of that Cleveland game, which was just an overall coaching disaster. Should the Bears re-sign Jason Peters? What do you guys think? Type S for sign, type P for pass. He's older. It's a different scheme. I get all of that. So let me know. I'm curious what you guys think on this one. S for sign, or you can type P for pass. Like I said earlier, regardless of what side of this you're coming on, Jason Peters was this team's best offensive lineman last season. And another piece of information that would back me up on that, outside of the film tape and the fact that I watched every snap last year, is Pro Football Focus, which isn't the end-all be-all, but I think their offensive line grades are usually pretty good. Peters was well above average. Kind of high 60s, 70 is kind of average overall. Well, he was well above that, 77.5 overall. His pass blocking was just under 78 there. Run blocking still a tick above average. Did give up 6 sacks, but only had 3 penalties, and I think a few of those sacks were in that Cleveland game. You take that game out of it, he was pretty good all season long. And again, yes, he's 40. Yes, he's, you got to wonder how much is left in the tank there, but it's not like this offensive line has solved all its problems, right? I think Braxton Jones has some potential. The reality is he's a 5th-round rookie. We don't know what he's going to do. So, if you're uncomfortable there, the left tackle is still very much up for grabs, as is right guard and right tackle. I mean, 3 of the 5 spots, in my opinion, have not been finalized. That's how I view it, at least. Maybe Matt Eberflus, Chris Morgan, Ryan Poles, they feel differently. But outside of Cody Whitehair and Lucas Patrick, I feel like the other 3 starting offensive line jobs are up for grabs. And if you want to bring in a vet that can help you plug one of those holes, I think that is definitely something that you should consider if you are the Chicago Bears. So will the Bears sign a veteran offensive lineman? Doesn't even have to be Peters, doesn't even have to be a tackle. I still think right guard could make the most sense to go out and sign someone. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Will the Bears go out and sign a veteran offensive lineman? I want to hear it from you guys down in the comments section right now. I'm not sure if they will, but as of yesterday, the Bears had the 4th most cap space in the NFL, so they certainly have enough money to do so if they want to. All right, let's keep it moving here. Justin Fields drew hype from Jason Peters. I don't know if Peters is pitching to the Bears, hey, bring me back for another year. But Peters, in that interview with SiriusXM, says that Justin Fields is, quote, going to be special, thinks he's going to be a big-time talent. We'll talk about what Peters had to say and how relevant his points on Fields are. But first, I do want to talk a little bit more about Manscaped, our presenting sponsor today. Longtime sponsor here at Bears Now. You guys know them by now. The best men's grooming products on the planet. I really encourage you guys to get the Lawnmower 4.0 because it's going to keep you nice and trimmed downstairs. I just got back from a romantic trip in Italy right before I left, cleaned things up downstairs, and that led to a good time, if you know what I'm saying. Also, the new Manscaped Boxers are fantastic. The Boxers 2.0. You're not going to chafe with these things. There's a little pouch there to keep your package nice and smooth when you're roaming around. I did a lot of walking in Italy, so it was nice to have a couple pairs of these as well. You can get 20% off plus free shipping off these products and more when you go to manscaped.com and plug in promo code BEARS20. That's promo code BEARS20 at manscaped.com. Link will be in the comments. It'll be in the description. Go check out the best men's grooming products out there. So here's what Peters had to say on Fields in deeper detail. Once he gets that offensive line set, that guy is going to be special because he can throw and run. He can make all of the plays that he needs to make. And I value what Jason Peters is saying here. He's been around a lot of players, a lot of teams, and he was around a young quarterback last year that obviously had to grow through some growing pains playing in a system that wasn't suited for him or really any other quarterback under Matt Nagy. But I value what Peters is saying here. If he tells me that Justin Fields has what it takes and he has all the tools to be that guy, then I value and trust what he has to say and can believe that these numbers will improve moving forward as he progresses as the Chicago Bears quarterback. Now, something that Peters did say is that once that offensive line is ready to go, is set, I think it's very questionable if that is the case right now. And in fact, I would say it's pretty likely that it is not fully in place at this point. Peters has been around a lot of quarterbacks, though. He also mentioned Michael Vick as a guy he reminds him of. Obviously, I think Fields is more polished as a passer, but he's that dynamic as a runner, too. He can make guys miss and can get going on that straight line speed as well. So I value what Peters is saying here. As far as bringing him back, we'll see. I wouldn't completely rule out bringing in a vet like him, depending on how things go early on in camp and into the preseason. Like I said earlier, Peters took 2.5, 3 weeks into training camp before signing with the Bears last year. The question is, though, like Peters is saying, is the offensive line and the wide receiver group good enough for Fields to become that guy this year? I think he's going to improve regardless, but he could be capped in terms of how big a strides he can make this year just due to some limited pieces around him. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. I'll ask you, is there enough help around Justin Fields? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Cast your votes down in the comments section. Do the Bears have enough around Fields as they currently sit? Cole Kmet, he's going to be a player that should help Justin Fields this year. Is he going to have a big role this year? He's entering year 3 with the Chicago Bears. Certainly took some steps last year, but could not find the end zone as he had 0 touchdowns. ESPN's Matt Bowen believes that he could have a big year, that a big year could be in store for Kmet. He tweeted this recently about the Bears tight end. Would expect Cole Kmet to be a featured target in the Bears play action route tree, run the seams, overs, crossers, underneath option on boot concepts, and he should see more volume in the low red zone this season too. And that last point is something that I think is really important. Yes, he didn't have a touchdown last year, but they kept trying to feed Jimmy Graham on the goal line in the red zone, which I think that was completely stupid by the prior regime. I think Kmet's going to have a big year. I really do. I like the growth I saw from him last year. He has to be a little bit more consistent catching the ball, and yes, regardless of how he was utilized, 0 touchdowns last year is a bit of a concern, but I think with more opportunities, I think this play action type of offense that we're going to see this year, I think really can suit him working the seams and on those crossers like Bowen mentioned. I mean, you saw the growth. Targets more than doubled. receptions more than doubled, yardage more than doubled. Yeah, he didn't find the end zone last year, but he improved as a player. The confidence certainly went up. You think of that, some of those plays he made in that Steelers game where him and Fields were walking off the field together saying, hey, man, we're close. We just got to keep building. I think that is going to continue to build and bring a big year this year. I do expect more red zone work for Cole Kmet. He's the clear tight end one this year. You don't have veteran Jimmy Graham looming, in the background here. You got Cole Kmet and, quality backups like Ryan Griffin and James O'Shaughnessy. But I think Kmet after Darnell Mooney can be the second most featured weapon in the passing game this year. In fact, I would be pretty surprised if that wasn't the case. And if it's not, that means a receiver stepped up, and that's certainly a very good thing as well. How many touchdowns will Cole Kmet have this year? 2 his rookie year, 0 last year. I'm going to say 4. 4 touchdowns for Kmet. I think a big breakout is coming, and that will include some touchdowns. So predict it. How many TDs for Cole Kmet? All right, one more Robert Quinn trade idea that has emerged, and then we will sign off on Bears Now. Could the Las Vegas Raiders be a team that shows interest? Bleacher Report proposed an idea to get Quinn to Chicago. Pretty simple trade. Second-round pick for Robert Quinn to land in Vegas. They already have some good pass rushers with Chandler Jones, Max Crosby, and a few other guys as well. So you'd add Quinn to that unit, and then the Bears will get a second in return. I would do this trade in a heartbeat, I think. Champa Kelly is now in Vegas, so you've got that connection there as a potential trade. It could work. Obviously, these two teams have traded in the past as well with Khalil Mack. Quinn should have value. He had a great season last year, as we've discussed many times here on Bears Now this offseason. 18.5 sacks is hard to find. I'm not saying he'll give you that this year, but there's clearly uncertainty around Quinn. He's 32 years old. We don't know if he's going to report to training camp for the Bears. Do the Bears want to trade him? Do they want to keep him? What's his value on the open market? I think if you could get a second-round pick, that's something you got to heavily consider, especially for a guy who skipped OTAs and minicamp this offseason, which, by the way, once again, the minicamp absence was not excused by Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles. So Robert Quinn watch continues as camp gets closer and closer, and so do the trade rumors as they continue to circulate. What do you think is more likely? Type T if you think Quinn gets traded, or R if you think he reports to camp. It's possible neither happen. He could not report and not get traded, but what do you think is the more likely scenario, that Quinn gets traded or that he reports to camp? Type T for trade, type R for reports. All right, that's going to be it for today's show. Loaded Bears rumors video for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want more, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Like I said, join the Noti Gang, and let us know once you do so by typing Noti Gang in the comments of this video. I'm Harrison Graham. We'll have a couple more videos over the next few days. Then I'm back in studio Sunday with another fresh video as well. We'll see you then, youtube.com/BearsNow.